It's the old school big bad Alabama versus the new kid on the block, Indiana. And a win in the college football playoff for the Hoosiers could elevate everything, including recruiting.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On College crossover edition of Hoosiers and the Portal. I'm Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers. He is Brian Smith, host of the Portal Podcast. Both of us on the Locked On Podcast Network. So we thank you for making us your first listen or your first watch every single day, and for making us the #1 sports podcasting network in the world. And there's a ton going on because it's finally game week. It's Indiana and Alabama. It's the Rose Bowl in the college football playoff on New Year's Day, and so many topics to go over. We'll cover Indiana's future scheduling, plus some other notable ones in college football with an ever-changing landscape and what that means moving forward. Plus, we'll break down the rest of the bracket, including Indiana's potential matchup of Oregon or Texas Tech. But Brian, it's the Hoosiers who are the literal newest of new in terms of dominant college football programs. And then there's Alabama, who is as old school as it gets. I mean, have you seen a matchup or remember a matchup like this in postseason play where you've got a program like Bama who's got umpteenth national championships at Indiana who's going for their first big postseason win ever?
The only one I can think of when I was a little kid, Miami winning their first title, they beat Nebraska. That's the only other one I can think of. That was 1983 season. I was 10 years old. But that's about it. Because usually once there's just a level that either you're at or you're not in football. It's not like basketball. Basketball, it's a lot more fluctuating. Football, it's the same 15 schools pretty much every year.
Yeah.
Bama's obviously towards the top of that list. Miami made it in. There's been a few others over the year, Florida State, etc. Indiana was never on the bingo card. It was never on the bingo card. And I say that as an Indiana grad. So this is really cool. And they can elevate the perception, their future schedules, and, oh, yes, their recruiting with a win over the Tide.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're getting into today is what does this win mean for both programs? Funny enough, a win in this game for Alabama is hugely important because of Kalen DeBoer and whatever his future is at Michigan or somewhere else, and the Alabama fans not being happy with him. I can't get a pulse on I can't get a read on that situation there in Tuscaloosa. I mean, it's simple for them. If you win, they like you. If you don't, they want your head on a stake. But for Indiana, there's so much at play here, Brian. I mentioned it. You're looking for the first win ever in the college football playoff, but basically the biggest win ever. Would this be bigger than the Ohio State win? I think it would be, just because you move yourself along in the college football playoff. And then you said it, the recruiting aspect of all of this. My goodness, winning in the playoff, beating Alabama to do it. Oh my gosh, man. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, in some ways I would say Ohio State still, because I didn't think they were going to win that game. And
you won a title in that game. I mean,
yeah, but beating Alabama in the Rose Bowl, when are you going to play in the Rose Bowl again?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is a unique opportunity. That's maybe the coolest stadium in college football. And above all else, it's playoff. If you beat them, I mean, you got a chance to win a national title, man. That game has so many ramifications, and everybody in the world is going to be watching that game. So I think it's going to change the perception of Indiana if they come out and play the way they're capable of.
Does beating Alabama, that logo, that brand, that name, how much does that carry in recruiting? Because Indiana's already turning heads. We've heard from dozens of guys in the 27 and 28 class that have taken note of the Ohio State win, of Indiana having a Heisman Trophy winner, of being the #1 seed in the playoff. Kids are taking notice big time now because you're winning big boy games. Does winning over Alabama in particular move that needle at all?
Yes. Last year when I was at events at the end of the playoffs and before, talking to people at the Under Armour practices, people would mention Indiana, but they didn't win a playoff game.
Yeah.
There were still doubts about what Indiana could do. If they beat Bama on top of beating Ohio State, I mean, what else can you do in back-to-back games? I mean, literally, you could argue those are the two biggest brands in the history of the sport. You could at least argue that.
Yeah.
How many teams could ever say they beat Ohio State? We turn around and beat Bama just for fun the next, you know what I mean? That's that's a pretty important stomping ground to go into. So I think it would draw the attention of let's get into direct the portal. I don't know how much they're going to hit it volume wise, but I guarantee you there are going to be players that are in it, that are at least interested now, but that'll get you over the hump. And instead of having to pay extra, I don't know if I want to go to Indiana, you could pay the same as some other teams. Like that happens. Like there's certain schools got to pay more to get kids. Indiana's price is going down to get guys because it's cool to be there. That stuff matters too.
That's something I guess I haven't overly thought about, Brian, is the idea that yes, we know the players and their agents dictate the transfer portal market, but a school like Indiana, you're telling me that maybe they don't. Indiana's upfront, I guess I don't know the best way to say this. Indiana's upfront paying price isn't as much as a Iowa because Indiana's winning games, Indiana's developing, Indiana's proving it. Is that right?
I think maybe not Iowa, like just out of the major programs, there are kids that will take the Ohio State offer because it's Ohio State.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
There's only about 5 or 6 of them that can kind of get away with that. And it's for different reasons. Sometimes it's the local kid that you can throw that to the side, but just like big Bama's one of them. Georgia to a certain, like Georgia will let kids walk. Like they don't want to, Notre Dame doesn't want to do it. Ohio State until here recently really hasn't. Very few. But Indiana's in that crowd now if they want to. Now, quarterback's its own entity because those guys are that's a different kind of deal. But otherwise, like Indiana's kind of now in that crowd because they're one of the top 5 to 10 programs in the country. Like it's the weirdest rise I've ever seen. They shouldn't be based on the recruiting metrics. They shouldn't be top 20. And they're number 1 in the country. It's the wildest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons I think people will now want to flock there because they're like, man, I'm better than this guy. They can obviously coach. They get my talent. It's going to be an easy sell for portal, JUCO, or high school kids. Indiana's in a good spot.
And then if you continue to win games on top of that, including this one against Alabama, you said everybody in the country will be watching. Of course, 1 game on New Year's Eve, 3 games on New Year's Day, but the Hoosiers as the number 1 team, the Rose Bowl got to choose. That's how it works. The bowl games dictate who plays where and what times they play and all that. So Indiana's got the prime time slot right in the heart of the afternoon in the Rose Bowl. And we know Indiana fans are going to go. We know Indiana fans are going to watch. Alabama fans will do the same. I'm concerned, or I guess maybe curious on how Indiana performs in this game with so much time off. Curt Cignetti said earlier last week that they're basically treating it like 2 bye weeks and then preparing for the Crimson Tide like they would any other team. And so we'll see how it goes. But my goodness, what a monumental win this could be for Indiana for so many different reasons, for the portal, for recruiting, for just the fan base, to beat Alabama, to do it in the Rose Bowl and get your first ever college football playoff win. Great things could be on the way for the Indiana Hoosiers. But that's just one of the 4 games that we get to talk about because of all the other intriguing matchups, including Oregon and Texas Tech. If Indiana wins, they take on one of those 2 teams. We talk about which one could be more beneficial right after this on this Locked On Crossover. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Rougie at Ready. Let's talk about something that most men don't bring up, but they absolutely should. Stress from work, money, or life, it doesn't just switch off at night, right? And when it shows up at the worst possible time, Rougie at Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rougie at Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters the most. Rougie at Ready combines 3 clinically proven ingredients in 1 mint that dissolves under your tongue so it absorbs fast. And you connect with a board-certified doctor online, and everything ships discreetly to your door. It's easy to understand why over 150,000 men have already made the switch. So if you've been thinking about taking the next step, now is the time. Head to Rougiet.com/LockedOnCollege. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege to get 15% off your first order for a limited time. Rougie at Ready. Feel present, feel confident, and you will feel ready. All right, we continue on with this Locked On crossover of Hoosiers and the Portal. He is Brian Smith of the Portal Podcast. I'm Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers. Make sure you subscribe to both of our respective channels on YouTube. You follow us on your audio podcasting platforms as well. And take a look at our Everydayer Club with the description or the link down in the description below. And Brian, why Indiana and Alabama is an awesome game in the college football playoff second round, other games are going to be good too. And we'll leave Oregon and Texas Tech for last, but the other two games, do you like these matchups? Are you concerned with these matchups, like a Miami and Ohio State, a Georgia Ole Miss? Do you like them? Are you worried? What's the temperature right now for you as we get into game week?
The one I'm actually most interested in is one that most people probably am not, and that's Georgia versus Ole Miss. The whole Lane Kiffin thing, who's coaching, how does that, not having Lane in the box, going against Kirby and Schumann, that makes me a little nervous as an Ole Miss person. And I think Charlie Weiss Jr. is a really good coordinator, but Lane being there for the confidence factor and all that, no offense. I liked Georgia in this game anyway. I'm curious. I hope I'm wrong, but if this game goes sideways, I expect a lot of barking. So
yeah, and for Ole Miss, I feel like if they had played a better opponent in the first round, we would have a better idea of what they're going to do, right? I mean, they just obliterated Tulane, and I did a show last week about why Tulane shouldn't be there, and G5 just embarrassed itself in the playoffs, but we just don't know what we're going to get against Ole Miss, and there's no coach better in the country, in my opinion, as a head coach at making defensive adjustments than Kirby Smart in game. That dude is a freak. I don't know why he can't do it for 4 quarters, but the second 2 quarters, he's going to out coach you almost every single time. And so I just don't trust Ole Miss to score consistently. And Georgia's offense, in my opinion, isn't great, but it's solid and it moves the football when they need to, and they just flat out win games. And so how do you feel about a rematch in the second round? This will be our 3rd rematch of the college football playoffs already.
Yeah, that is kind of unusual. It's unfortunate in some ways, but it also adds the intrigue. Like Georgia should have lost to Ole Miss the first time in Athens, but they're not the same team they were then either. Yeah. They're way better defensively. They figured it out. They've gotten a lot more aggressive with their pass rush, and it's worked because their pass rush earlier this year was anemic. If it was that same pass rush, they would not be where they are. They'd have lost another game or two, but they are because they've improved again. You already said it. Schumann, Kirby, they don't mess around, man. They're going to find chess pieces on that roster and move them around. They begin the year on their depth, just their defensive depth chart. Jacob, take a guess how many 5-stars they had just on defense.
Oh gosh, I don't know, 15,
8.
Oh,
just on defense.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe. Anyway, it's still. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So they found different ways to get guys in positions to make plays. And now it just looks like they're locked in. Wouldn't be surprised if Indiana played Georgia in the finals.
What a lot of people have said. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if Georgia won the whole thing, would I be surprised? No. We'll kind of know how good they are against Ole Miss because that offense is a pain to prepare for with all the different stuff that Chambliss does and everything. I'm curious to see if Ole Miss can survive the first 5 to 10 minutes, they'll be okay. But if they struggle to move the ball early on, I'm a little nervous there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Ole Miss defense can handle being on the field a lot in the first half, and then the weight literally of Georgia's O-line, et cetera, in the second half could be concerned.
And then the game that those two teams are matched up with is Ohio State, who is now awaiting Miami, who beat Texas A&M on the road in College Station. But Brian, everybody's counting out the Hurricanes. Nobody's picking Miami to beat Ohio State. But do you feel differently? It seems like you might.
Miami figured a few things out defensively, and they do one thing that like every Super Bowl upset has had the same formula for the last 20 years. Every Super Bowl has elite quarterbacks, right? How do they lose? The other team has 4 guys that can really pass rush. That's Tom Brady, what the New York Giants pass rush was like in 2 Super Bowls. Yeah. Ask a certain guy who's now hurt in Kansas City what it's like when the Eagles have 4-man. Like, if you can't rush 4 against elite quarterbacks and drop 7, it's going to be a long day. There are only a handful of teams that can do it, and Miami has the best group to do that in the country. Ohio State's line's pretty good, and nobody's going to cover them consistently. Like Jeremiah Smith, I know him. I've been around since he was junior in high school. Nobody's going to cover him consistently. The only way to make that work is Julian Sain's got to be knocked off his spot consistently so he can't even see Jeremiah. You can just throw it up to him. That's 6'3", 220 of iron.
Yeah.
So
it's what Indiana did. Indiana knocked him down a bunch.
That's the only way it works. Indiana, Miami, in my opinion, do the best job of team rushing, keeping the guy in the pocket, making him uncomfortable, and the eyes come down. And that's why they're both playing well. Like if your quarterback's uncomfortable, it's going to suck. You can only run the ball so much against those kind of fronts anyhow. And they're both like teams that give up less than 100 yards for a reason. But now you're going up against like the offensive line for Ohio State's got a bunch of big guys. They can run the ball. You got, ironically, Bo Jackson as a running back. It's so weird to say that again. The freshman that's so good at Ohio State, he's got to learn how to pass protect and help chip against Ruben Bain, Hakeem Messidor. Ohio State needs to play well early because Miami feeds off emotion. They really do. So if Ohio State doesn't get a lead with that young quarterback, I worry about it because Carson Beck's a graduate student. Like nothing's going to really bother him. That'll be interesting. But I think Ohio State's better. And again, nobody's guarding Jeremiah. Tate's great and all that stuff. But like that game, if Miami gets out of the first quarter even or something, don't be surprised if they end up winning that game.
Well, you said it. It's the other side of the ball for me. I think it's the Miami offense against the Ohio State defense. Can the Buckeyes continue to do what they do and just not give up points? I mean, they gave up 13 to Indiana. That's it. But they still lost because Ohio State's offense wasn't able to do what they needed to do. And Carson Beck, he didn't do it against A&M, but you know what he's known for? It's throwing to the wrong team. I expect him to do that in this game. If Ohio State can get pressure on him, I think that's a fascinating matchup as well. But the one that all Indiana fans will have their eyes on is Oregon and Texas Tech. A fascinating matchup and all facets here between the Ducks and the Red Raiders. The winner of this plays the winner of Indiana and Alabama. Brian, tell us what you're focused on in terms of Oregon and Texas Tech, the 4 and the 5. Tell us what you're focused on in this game.
Straight up, this is a trench game. Texas Tech went out and flat out bought 3 defensive linemen. Lee Hunter, a guy that I know, he's a Mobile kid, transferred from Auburn to UCF, and now he's out at Tech. 330 pounds of sledgehammer in the middle. How do they handle him? And then they got the 2 edge rushers, the guy from Georgia Tech and the guy out there from Stanford. David Bailey was bananas this year as a pass rusher, and he had like 20 tackles for loss or whatever. Like they are legit. If they can't handle them in the run game is going to be my question. Dante was dealing the other night against JMU, but in similar fashion to that text I sent you a little while back about Indiana, about you playing against Siena. That's kind of what this is. Like, they couldn't guard Oregon's speed or receiver. Sadiq and those guys. But you got to, like, Oregon's offense is predicated on power football. It's kind of 1995 NFL. Power football, play action, throw shots. That's what they do. They try to out-talent you. I'm not sure they're going to be able to push around Tech. This game might be the best game of the playoff, just down to the wire. This could be 23-20 with a minute to go when somebody's got the ball at midfield. That kind of thing. I think this is going to be fantastic. But again, watch the D-line for Tech, O-line against Oregon. A couple of their guys are just getting back. For Oregon, they were hurt. Man, I would not want to face those pass rushers after being banged up. But that's where Oregon's at.
I'll tell you, not a particular matchup in that game, but what I'm looking for all of these games, this is the first instance this season anyway, where we see the teams who had the bye versus the teams that did not, right? Last year, this was a whole big talking point, but last year it was not the 4 best teams who had the bye. It was the highest conference champion crap that they pulled on us. These are the 4 best teams in the country from start to finish, right? With Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas Tech. They did have the extra week of waiting going up against the teams that played. Is there an advantage? Is there a disadvantage? There was a clear disadvantage last year, but we'll see what happens this year. But that's what I'm going to be focusing on. Is there any rust? Is there any sleepwalking? Does it take a half to get going? All those things matter in a big playoff game, but I don't think we see the dramatics there as much as we did a year ago, but great matchups in the second round of the college football playoff. And speaking of just the world of the playoff and things that are always changing, scheduling has been a fascinating conversation the last couple of weeks for Indiana, P4 teams and beyond. We talk about that and wrap up the show right after this on this Locked On Crossover. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame. A limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern Time have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new, like boosts, bonuses, and even surprises. And it adds extra energy to a Friday night with basketball without you having to overthink it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Final segment on this Locked On crossover of Hoosiers and the Portal. We appreciate you being here again. Make sure you subscribe to both of our YouTube channels. You follow us on your audio podcasting platforms so you never miss a moment of the Portal podcast or Locked On Hoosiers. And Brian, this is something that you wanted to go into a little bit, something that you have taken notice of over the past, 2 weeks maybe, of teams scheduling big out-of-conference opponents and what it means moving forward and what it could mean for a team like Indiana in the next several years too. Enlighten us on what you have discovered here, my friend.
Well, a lot of for people that don't know, I don't know where this got started, but teams used to schedule opponents 10, 15 years and more in advance.
Yes.
And there's still some of that. And it's weird scheduling. Like some rivals that you think of, obviously the Notre Dame USC rivalry just ended, but a couple of years ago, Notre Dame scheduled Michigan for another series like 12, 15 years in advance. I'm like, that is so weird.
Yeah, like Ohio State, Texas, for an example.
Yeah,
that was one that was scheduled a decade ago. Yeah.
Forever. Yeah. And it's just like, we couldn't do that in 3 years. We got to wait 10. Like, I don't understand it, but whatever. The point is still the same. Indiana, like their out of conference scheduling is terrible. They've got to improve it. There's no nice way to say it.
No.
I mean, Indiana State, are you excited about going to that game? I mean,
I didn't go.
Yeah, the point is they got to start playing. So they played Notre Dame in 2030 and 2031. That's great. But now they need to start to get in some others. Now that Indiana is kind of one of those programs, even if it's just Virginia, even if it's just like Baylor, they got to play a P4 out of conference opponent. They're going to sell out the stadium. And they're going to draw fans. You can go have your alumni functions and all kinds of stuff. There are different ways to get the money back. And I know Indiana's playing home games that way for revenue. It's because of Title IX and all. I know what they're doing. But you're actually good now. Your fans will follow. Your fans will donate. There's a million ways to do this. Play somebody like BYU. The fans will go out to Utah. Heck yeah. Play Stanford. They'll go out to San Francisco. I guarantee it. Indiana fans are pretty loyal.
Yeah.
I think there's a unique opportunity here, because a lot of other teams are running from games, USC being one, and there's some others that have dumped games too. Cal just dropped BYU. Like, no offense, Cal, but you guys ain't going anywhere anyway. I don't want to hear it.
Right.
So why not schedule some games, even if it is 15 years from now? Play Texas A&M or something like that. It'll get the fans exciting, and it gives us something to talk about too. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not greedy about it. I love talking about that stuff during the downtime of the offseason after spring ball when we're twiddling our thumbs. That's great content. I think Indiana's got a chance now that they're the cool new school. There's no way their phone isn't going to be ringing. It's an opportunity for other teams that need money. Bring Indiana here. We'll sell out.
Yeah.
I was going to say that either, but it's true.
Yeah. And the problem is, though, the term you used was running from the competition. And I think, unfortunately, I think that's what Indiana's done. And Kurt Cignetti and them have been kind of vocal about it, right? Because here's the problem. Those games would be great. Welcoming another P4 team to Memorial Stadium would be fantastic, or Indiana traveling to another P4 stadium would be fantastic. But I think Indiana, at least right now, they're prioritizing a win in the win column versus the money they can make for a big game or going on the road somewhere, anything like. They are prioritizing a near undefeated season or just one loss in conference play compared to an out of conference loss, because you don't know what the committee's going to do. And yeah, look at Notre Dame, for example. Obviously they're not in a conference, so that's a little bit of a different conversation, but you just don't know what the committee's going to do in this playoff era. Do you get punished for losing a game like that, or rewarded because you took it on and you took on the challenge compared to, yeah, if we play Kennesaw State second week of the year, baby, we're going to get a win, and it doesn't matter who it is. A win is a win no matter who the opponent is. That's Indiana's mentality. I can't say that I firmly agree with that, but that's what they're doing. So how do we get away from that? That comes down to the committee for me. That's a committee problem, the college football playoff issue. They've got to be more vocal about, hey, you play these games, we will at least acknowledge that you played it. I'm not going to reward you for losing a game, me personally, but we're not going to just bury you because you decided to go play Oklahoma in the first week of the season like Michigan did.
I think Alabama getting in, ironically, because that's a game that everybody and their brother, is looking forward to. Like, they lost 3 games, and one of them I know is the SEC title game, but they still lost 3 games. Seeing
to
that
Florida State in the opener.
That's the key. Like, they only lost 1 game in the regular season of the SEC, but they got beat pretty good by a team that sucked. Yeah. 31-17. But they still, by definition, that's a blue blood, at least a recent blue blood, 1980 forward. And they played poorly down the stretch, but it's the fact that Alabama scheduled it. I think they were given some credit for that. Because you don't know year to year, like some of the opponents on these schedules, like that's going to be tough. Michigan State and Wisconsin, they've fallen off the map. They were both teams trying to get in the playoff. Now they're like, let's just try to get to a bowl. So you don't know. So do you schedule them? I'm curious to see how the playoff committee does this again next year. Maybe Indiana will lighten up on that, but otherwise, I don't know if they will.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes in the ever-changing landscape of college football, getting into scheduling as well, and hopefully everything will get figured out. But no thanks to the NCAA, of course. We'll have to figure it out on our own. He is Brian Smith, the host of the Portal Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers. We appreciate you spending your time with us as we get you ready for Indiana and Alabama, plus all the other college football playoff games this week as well. More to come on both of our channels. So until next time, stay safe, and we'll talk to you later.